Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and it's time for another Retro Toy Rewind. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Rambo Force of Freedom action figure from Coleco, released in 1986. That's right, I'm taking a look at another one of these retro figures because I was inspired to do so, since NECA Toys is releasing a new updated version of this particular figure exclusive to the 2015 San Diego Comic-Con. So I thought it might be fun to go back and look at this original Rambo action figure. The Coleco Force of Freedom line of Rambo toys was actually based on the Freedom Force cartoon series and featured Rambo and several other characters, all done in a very cool action figure style. As you can see, he comes on this awesome packaging with the Rambo logo plastered right there across the top. You got this great fiery explosion in the background, and we even have this neat little artwork down in the right-hand corner of Rambo. Brave, daring, heroic, no man can stop him. And when you flip that around to the backside, we get a cool little story of Rambo along with an image of the action figure. We get a description of how to use his action feature, and below that, we get a look at all of the other figures available in the Force of Freedom lineup. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull Rambo outside of that packaging and take a closer look at the action figure. First of all, hey, do you remember when action figures came with these cool little guides here? Yeah, let's go and look at that real quick, just for fun, shall we? Man, all the figures used to come with these. Some figures to this day still do, but this is pretty sweet, right? Just looking at all the cool figures in this line. I always had a soft spot in my heart for this particular line. There's some really fun figures. I am particularly fond of White Dragon, just because he's a cool white ninja. And of course, on the Savage side, the bad guys, there's also Black Dragon, the Black Ninja. I really like both of those figures. Gripper is also another one that's very cool. I was also a big fan of Dr. Hyde, who is not listed here, but he was a great figure. And check that out. There was a lot of cool things in this line. Great vehicles, really fun stuff. And there was this massive playset, the Savage Strike headquarters. So, pretty cool. It's one of the fun things about opening up some of these vintage toys sometimes, getting to look at little catalogs that are on the inside. We also get this little trading card that's on the inside. Basically gives you a full bio for Rambo. It's got that same little image that we see on the packaging, as well as the Freedom Force insignia down here. And when you flip it around to the back side, we get a description of all of the weapons that come with the figure. The RPG rocket launcher, the M60 machine gun, the survival knife, and the T-knife. So, pretty cool little things that are included in there. Alright, so let's go and take a look at the action figure itself. The figures in the Rambo toy line from Coleco stood about 6.5 inches tall, so they were actually kind of big compared to some of the other figures that are out around this time in 1986. But you can see that the style is very similar to some of those other muscle-bound figures that were out there. Very cool design actually with this guy, and while he is definitely dated with the way he's sculpted, I still really like the design of this guy. I mean, he just looks like a fun action figure, and you look at him and you can tell it's Rambo. He's got that signature red bandana, specifically seen in Rambo 2, and of course the Freedom Force cartoon series. He even has his little necklace with a little blue charm kind of hanging on around his neck. And I love the sculpting on here because look at his chest. All the scarring on his chest is actually part of the sculpt. I thought that was really, really cool, and just something a little unique for a figure from this era. It's kind of cool that they went as far as to give these sorts of details on the figure. He does have a lot of accessories, and as you can see, he comes out of the package wearing this belt, and on the back, he does have a holster for his survival knife, so we've got the survival knife there. Of course, we can fit that in either one of his hands if you want to do some battle with that knife, but he has another little holster on the back as well that's next to the survival knife holster, and this one is for those little T-knives here. You can actually, he's got two of those little T-knives, so you can stick those right there on the back of his belt. They actually just plug on there very nicely. You get one facing one direction, one facing another, boom. And then of course, you can actually get him to hold those in his hand as well. He also comes with this cool little bandolier filled with bullets for his M60, so you can strap that right around his chest. He's got a little peg, and you can hook it on there. Look at that. Now our Rambo's got all of his gear on, and he's ready to go. We do have a few more accessories to take a look at, but why don't we go ahead and check out the articulation on this guy real quick before we get into the rest of the accessories. It's actually pretty standard for the day. The head is able to move both left and right. It's also worth noting, it's a squishy head. He's got a squishy head. The rest of the body is a solid plastic. He's got the soft rubber head. Again, pretty common for this era. The arms just move up and down at the shoulders. There's no other articulation in the arms, so they're actually stuck in this bent pose. He's got nothing in the waist, but then the thighs actually have a bit of a ball joint there. See, look at that. You can actually kind of roll the legs all the way around at the thighs, move them forwards, backwards, actually get some posing with the legs spread out, which is pretty nice for some of the poses you can get, and you can bend his knees, which is awesome. You didn't see a lot of figures that had the bendable knees as well. So he's actually quite posable in the legs, and you can get some pretty cool poses with him. Nothing extremely dynamic, of course, but seriously, for this era, that's some pretty good posability there. Alright, so as we talked about when we were looking at the weapons on the box, aside from the T-knives and the survival knife, he does also come with the M60 machine gun, and you do have the ability to put that in either one of his hands. You can get him to hold on to it there. The left hand, the right hand. Obviously, the way that his arms are, you're not going to get him to do any two-handed poses. So it's only just a single-handed pose with his machine gun. But yeah, come on, Rambo with a machine gun? That just seems perfect, right? That's what you got to have Rambo with a machine gun. But on top of the machine gun, he also comes with the RPG. The RPG rocket launcher, and this is probably the weapon that most people remember for this specific action figure. So there is an action feature with this. As you can see, we got this little string dangling around, and the string is actually attached to this bright red rocket. So this is a little bit different than your normal spring-loaded firing mechanism. Instead of the rocket snapping in there and pushing a button, the string is actually how we're going to activate this feature. So you want to put the machine or the RPG in his right hand, and it's a little hard to put it the right way. You want to put it on the inside of his arm, because this right here is the little brace that actually rests against his stomach so that the action feature works properly. So you want to find the right way to get that snugly fit right there on his hand. It's a little hard because his elbows don't bend. There we go. Get that locked in there, and you can see how it's just kind of resting against his stomach there. So now we take this little string and you pull it all the way back, and you'll notice, see how it's getting some tension in that rocket there? So you pull the string and you release the string. Boom! He fires his rocket. As you can see, it's not that effective. It doesn't really shoot the rocket very far. It doesn't pull with a lot of force. Ah, there we go. I got a much better one that time. Boom. But this is actually kind of neat because this way you won't lose the rocket. I mean, it's always attached to that string there. You got to get it just right. It really helps if you pull it straight back. You want to hold the end of the rope, pull it straight back. When you release, it sends that rocket flying out. So that's actually a pretty fun little action feature. It is a little different. Now, I even know, even as a kid, the strings on weapons like this always bugged me. But this is one thing that's pretty nice. You do have the ability to kind of wrap the string around the handle here. And you'll notice that there's a little groove right here because it's meant to kind of wrap around, and then you can kind of just stick the string in that little groove right there, and that way you've got it kind of wrapped up. And now you can pose them just like this with the rocket sticking out of there, and that actually works out pretty well, and you don't have a dangling string anymore. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at Rambo from the Force of Freedom toy line from Coleco. Really fun line of action figures from 1986. There's actually a lot of really cool characters in this line, as I showed you with that catalog. They're not overly expensive to pick up these days either. So happy hunting, my friends. And until next time.